You're here with Corey Campbell outside the Belgrade. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm the co-artistic director of the Belgrade Theatre. You see this here? So come anytime. We would love to have you here.
Don't try and record us until we say, okay. Don't record us until we give you permission, okay?
It's been quite a long journey for me actually. So it originally started back in, oh my God, I want to say 2016.
For the past 4 years, we started with a completely different name and it was just one pilot episode.
The knife crime film was originally called Consequences.
And then the next year was fortunate to get a bit more funding, so we did I think 1 or 2 episodes.
And was called The Family. I think it was The Family next. So that was 2018. Then 2019, we did it again, but he restructured it, rewrote it and what have you. Story changed slightly, obviously. And then we shot it again, but now it was called Seaview. So that's where that title first came in.
And then now we're here.
And action!
There were many a challenge in terms of getting Seaview shot. I know we had big support and a lot of big partnerships. It's just never enough, is it? You know what I mean? So we could have always done with more money. Before we started the shoot, the lead actor got COVID and he was playing a sibling and his sibling got ill as well. That was the amazing Reese Amos and Kieran Amos, both Hamilton Amos. And so we had to rejig things around. There was an obstacle to overcome every single day. But because of the team, Evgeny is easily one of the most positive people. I tell you, he was my DOP for anyone who wants to know. If I didn't have him, you know, many things would have been difficult. Evgeny kept saying, Corey, everything happens for a reason. But in the way he says it, but I'm not gonna do his voice. Everything happens for a reason, Corey. Do not worry, everything happens for a reason.
It's been a big pleasure to work with Corey on this project. We never met before this project and it was all quite unexpected, let's say. But I definitely have no regrets because he's very cooperative, like he's very daring. He likes to try new things, to be brave.
Genuinely, I think we work together very well. I like experimenting and I'm really fortunate that Evgeny also is very, very experimental. And also I'm on a journey of learning, so sometimes I don't listen and that's just what I'm like. Anybody that knows me will know if I've got something in my head, that's it.
And of course, very creative. He's got a good understanding of what he wants, and then it's just about explaining that to me and the camera team so that we can kind of bring it to life.
And as things were happening, my sister got very, very ill while we were shooting at the prison in Gloucester, and I felt like I needed to be at home. And every day I was shooting, I was wondering, she was on death's door, basically, she was dying. And every day I was thinking, oh God, you know, should I be at home? Of course, because of COVID, you were not allowed into the hospital. So all these things I was contending against. So my head was all over the place, but I was trying to stay in the game, you get me? She's doing much better now, by the way, and depending on where you showed her, she's probably here. Sian, I love you so much. The thought of losing you literally destroyed my world. Uncle Ron died, dear man in my life, hadn't managed to see him for a while for whatever reason. Nanny Mitty died, you know what I mean? Like, Uncle Brian was in hospital. Like, it was just wild. It was a very, very difficult time. But as they say, the show must go on, and it did. In terms of what we ended up struggling with, 2 of the production companies who we were working with at the time dropped out 2 weeks before shooting. They were doing sound design, post, grading, sound mix, and also they were supporting us by bringing on a DOP and a camera operator that would have come out of their budget, and also the sound recordist out of their budget. So of course 2 weeks before the shoot, I'm running around looking for a sound recordist.
It's very important when a cinematographer comes on board as early as possible, I would say, and because that gives you a lot of options for pre-production and to prepare. But this time it was very different for me. I only came on board like 2 weeks before the shoot. This is something I usually don't do, but I decided to give it a try. But the good thing is that before shoot, we managed to see most of the locations. That was very helpful.
Me and Evgeny and Rob and Jack went to see, the cathedral, the ruins, all these places that we were going to shoot in.
Where didn't we film? We filmed in our grammar school, Hillfields, shop called Loco. They've got the locomotive. Don't get me wrong. I hope the thing. Loco was pretty dope. And then old grammar school, King Norton, shot at Yard. Big shout out to Amara and that. Shot at Herbert Art Gallery. Shot everywhere, Belgrade, on the streets, Spun End. You get me? Hold tight Lucas, hold tight Ruger. Them man, they give me space down them ways. You get me? I didn't know them before, but all the hood youths came out, Ruger came out and that, and I'm back the case, so I appreciate that. As you know, with film, there would usually be like a big budget, big studio involved. But because we never had no studio, we had to do most of the things on location. When you're shooting on location, of course, you have many difficulties. So like when we were shooting here at the old grammar school, it's right outside a bus stop. And every time a bus pulled up, we had to call cut. But a bus was pulling up every 5 minutes. No lie, Coventry buses are whack normally. So I don't know why all of a sudden they were on time. But as soon as we said action, we had to yell cut. It was a bit mad. And then of course on the outside, we had some serious issues. So like we were just shooting right here. If you look down here, we were like in this place here. And then the weather kept changing, English weather. We were shooting right here, so the car was like here, there. And the sun was beating down, so it was a different time of day. The sun wasn't where it is now, it was kind of like over the top. Weather kept changing. It went from rain to snow, then the sun came out, then the sun went back in, and then it was sleet. So of course, all the continuity is messed up because it's the same scene. And unless the actual weather changes inside the scene, you can't make it work. So what should have took us, that scene's probably what, 15 seconds long. What should have took us, a quarter of the day, took us all day. Like we lost the day because of it. And then we had to make it match with other scenes that were happening on the same day. So we had all kinds of issues and they were all learning curves for me. I hadn't prepared the Belgrade for that because I wasn't prepared for it myself. And a lot of the days we went over, some days we went under, but it was all because of these like practical things that I think people who have the education on that, they manage to avoid or get around with money. A 3-hour practitioner doing film, bada bing, bada boom. One of the big issues was anything that was in my mind, I didn't have enough experience to know what I needed to bring that into play. So, for example, there's a shot that I want where I want to go right into someone's eye, like deep into their eyeball. But the 85 lens couldn't achieve that. I wouldn't know that the 85 lens couldn't achieve that. So when we got there on the day, that became a hassle because though I described it to people, I hadn't described it in technical terms as a director who's used to film would. So they kept saying, oh, we thought you meant something else. And they were proposing certain bits and pieces, like they're trying to propose other ideas, but that wasn't what I wanted. And so in the end, we put like a magnifying glass in front of in fact, I won't tell you what we did, but we did something. And it got the effect that we were looking for. But that happened a lot. I wanted a roof pan down, so I wanted to be able to pan down from the ceiling very smoothly down and then end up looking up at the performer, yeah? Because we didn't have what was required, I don't know what was required, like a crane or something, like a crane shot thing. Because we didn't have it, yeah? I basically put Evgeny on my back, some physical theatre thing, and kind of slid him down, like I would do in like my physical theatre practice with Strictly Arts. It worked. So we just had to, what's the word, Bailey? You know, like when you don't have what you need and you put something else in its place. Improvise. We had to improvise a lot and like create substitutes to make the work happen. You get me? We were working with some mad Zeiss super speed lenses, but they're vintage, so they're like 70 years old. So because we were doing a manual focus puller, the focus wasn't automatic. it was kind of difficult to find, to use them, because you couldn't tell whether it was soft or whether it's because the lenses were vintage, you get me? So that was difficult. What else? We had electricity issues sometimes. Big shout out to Rob and Chris, you know, them lot were dope with it. Them man were electricians, so you have to do an electrical test everywhere you go. And like a lot of the venues that we went to, they were failing the electrical tests, and it was like, lockdown just finished. And by the time lockdown had finished, they go backwards, you good. By the time, what's wrong? Are you nervous? Don't be nervous, I got you, man. If you don't trust me, what are we doing this for?
Rob's been working really hard on CV, but he moans. Oh my God, does he moan? But he's done some incredible work. It's your first time gaffering?
Yeah, don't know what it is.
Chaos. But do you know what? When I say that, every film shoot is chaotic. You just have more money to deal with different problems. So I think the chaos lies in here is trying to find ingenious ways of filling the holes that we don't have, that would normally be filled by money, etc. But yeah, it's a very hard-working crew. Good advantages that not a lot of crews have.
Our first AD, who's amazing, Colvin, he says any obstacle can be overcome with money, you get me? But we ran out of the budget a long time before we even started shooting. So we had to get over those obstacles by being even more creative. And I'm really proud of the work that we've created. I'm proud of the people who have put some serious work in to make it happen. And that's both in the building at the Belgrade and those freelancers who we had on the set, and the students from the college, from the universities, from the colleges. Everybody was incredible.
So my role as of today on CVU is being a media trainee, so just looking at running around a little bit, getting props, and like helping set up certain scenes. Because I've grown up in Coventry. Initially when I was looking at universities, I thought that Coventry isn't a good city for media. I thought that was one of my reasons why I wanted to move away. A couple of months after joining, well, quite a few months after joining, I saw that there was such an opportunity within Coventry. It's pretty exciting.
For a start, my goal going into CVU was to make sure that we were able to offer credit, as in film credits, to people that don't necessarily have the experience or haven't been given an opportunity like CVU held.
Today we are
Matthew, we are being alcoholics.
Recovering alcoholics.
Recovering alcoholics, yeah, that's right. So we were asked to come in decrepit clothing, which was
just what we normally wear.
Yeah, well, I'll just put my slightly shabby wear on, but that's normally me at a weekend. And yes, so we're coming along. We really don't know what's involved fully, but it was just an opportunity to get involved with a bit of theatre, because it's been woefully lacking, hasn't it, for the last year or so.
And also it's not just nice to be involved with a bit of city culture activities as well. Obviously that's all about to start up, and hoping to get involved more in that, and this is the first sort of acting related role.
So I'm Emily, and my role is receptionist.
And my name is Guy Van Onselen. I am receptionist number 2.
And together we are
Receptionist United.
Do you know what? In a roundabout sort of way, I've known Corey since I was quite little, through my dad, and I've just sort of known Corey. And then I knew he was developing this, and he was telling me about it on and off, and he just sort of asked me if I would play this role, but then never told me anything else about it. He actually asked me if I'd go along when they were filming sort of the pilot, the trailer, and I got there and I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, just stand in that room and look as though you know the secret of the universe. And I said, okay. And then I did that, and then he said, oh, will you be in the series? And I said, yeah, sure, what do you want me to do? And he said, don't worry about it. So I sat through like 6 hours of a read through and then said, Corey, so what's the deal with me? Am I in this? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm not on paper. And he said, no, you're in my head. He was like, nobody needs to understand what you're doing except me and you. And I said, but I don't understand it. And he said, that's okay, because I do. And that To this day, I start filming in a couple of hours. To this day, that is the extent of what I know.
It's got twists and turns that you just don't expect. You just don't see them coming. It's powerful, it's epic, it's big. It's like a Greek tragedy.
I'm gonna give you some home truths now. And when the Belgrade see this, I hope they're not too upset. One of the key reasons for making film in the way that we did it, as opposed to recording theatre, was just breaking down that wall of what it is to do digital work, you get me? So for me, I thought it was a good idea or worthwhile to just go all the way, you get me, to actually make something that's purely digital. The bridging the gap thing, and because of the nature of theatre at the moment or during the pandemic, is that everybody suddenly started to do digital. So it wasn't that we were trying to one-up the idea of recording theatre, it was just that I wanted to go all the way so that we could all see the digital possibilities and what you could do if you gave it the space.
When it's done, I do hope that people will not be able to say that they don't have the talent pool in the Midlands, or West Midlands particularly, because we've got it here. And then I hope that somebody takes on the kind of blueprint that we've created and keeps it going, but gives everybody more money. Everybody deserved more money.